Timing, actually. Thank you very much, Adriana. Thank you, everyone, for well, basically dedicating your time with this hour and a half to meeting a different perspective of talking about circular economy. My name is Milan Veselinov, coming from Serbia, owner of a Sirecon company that is fully dedicated to circular economy. And in next 2 hours, we will be meeting a bit more about the systems way of looking at the circular economy and why it is so important to see circular economy from that or from these angles in order to implement it appropriately to business and to our society. So at the beginning, I would like to underline a couple of housekeeping notes, and that would be good to have in mind. First of all, Adriana, I think that we are recording this. Is this correct? And recording is working, I guess.
Yes, you are correct. We are recording and we'll go on Facebook as well with live streaming. So
Perfect. So in order to respect everyone's privacy, we would ask you kindly to keep your cameras off and to actually raise hands when it is necessary to ask a question or to raise a discussion topic so we can address to your topics. Um, Other than that, we will keep you muted because, okay, now it's 24, maybe in this summertime, this number will rise a bit. We don't expect a huge crowd, but that's why we are recording this, and that's why we are posting the link for Facebook, as well as we will be sending out links further on for further notice or for future, like let's call it record of this video. We would like also to have a lively discussion. We would like to have questions from you. So we will open both options of creating these questions open for you. You can write freely in the chat box. I will collect these questions during the webinar, as well as you can raise hands and we can start live discussion after our presentations are done. I will be leaving the floor for two professionals, two experts, our colleagues from Romania a little bit later. But for now, I would like to share and just to introduce you briefly about the project based on which we're organizing everything here. So hopefully you can see the screen. And let's start with the presentation. So this is the second in series of webinars that we are going to organize this year, and this is a part of the project that is called Circular Economy Beacons. This is short for Climate Innovation and Circular Economy Beacons. Did we see the need for this kind of a project? Because we wanted to create an ecosystem that will speed up the development and implementation of circular economy. We saw that there is a increasing need to get to the trend of circular economy, and we saw that there is a huge lack of, huge gap of knowledge and implementation in this regard. In order to facilitate faster implementation, faster knowledge dissemination, as well as to activate local actors, actually regional actors, and reduce costs, we approached Climate Kick with the consortia of 6 partners this year that you can see listed on the left side, and approached Climate Kick that call it accepted our proposal and supported us in this initiative. What we plan is to encompass all 12 countries of Balkans, and in future years, and also to activate and collaborate with all local actors that can contribute to circular economy. Our mission is that we want to create a socio-economic system that produces profitable, safe, fair, clean and resilient circular market. So in this sentence, you can see that we are mostly aiming to boost innovation and business potential, but there is no sustainable and resilient market without the social acceptance as well. Our plan for this year is to design a regionally fit circular business implementation net framework that we will later on implement in four businesses in Romania and Serbia, and then we want to actually deliver this to far more businesses in coming years. We want to train up to 20 actors in various fields from all 6 countries, but with the main accent in all 5 countries, but with the accent on Serbia and Romania. With the multidisciplinary approach, having in mind because we want to establish new teams that can implement circular economy within our region. So the fourth topic is circular urban area concept and feasibility study. There will be a little bit more about that at the end of the webinar. And also what we want to address is policy barriers in our region that are common, and we maybe with joint forces we can address and then later on overcome. When it comes to what connects us, it's 4 main topics or main pillars that are connecting beacons. These are values and vision, and so every organization that will become part of Beacon have to share the same values and vision. We want to share information for faster dissemination, faster reaction time. We want to share our resources, basically knowledge, expertise, and finances. And at the end, experience and expertise is the cornerstone by which we are forming this network of collaboration. Funding source is already mentioned. This year we are supported by Climate Kick, and we do intend to prolong this project in most probably even the bigger scope and bigger geography in coming years. So yep, that will say on its own that we're open for collaboration. So this was a really short introduction from my side. Now I would like to introduce the first topic for today out of 2. The first topic will be regarding systems and systems thinking. So why systems are so important for the circular economy, and our important colleague from Romania and Sustainable Development Expert, Andrei Churican, will shortly join us. But before we start with the presentation, I just wanted to interact a little bit with the audience. So I would like to also know the scan, or we would like to know the scan of your familiarity against circular economy. I will be launching poll, and I will have approximately 30 seconds for us for you to let us know what is your level of knowledge in the field of circular economy, so we know what pace to take. We would also know what phrases to use, etc., etc. So we're most accommodated with your needs. Okay, let's call it 3, 2, 1. I think that we have good enough answer. So the winner is yeah, medium knowledge about circular economy. So just to see, I lost the poll somewhere. Yep. So medium knowledge about circular economy is somewhat prevalent. And with this, I would like to introduce, actually to give the floor to Andrei and to meet us a little bit, or to let us know why systems are so important in the world of circular economy. Andrei, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Milan.
Thank you very much.
Hello to everybody, to all the participants. I'm Andrei Curican. My work is in sustainable development consultancy, and I am doing this for about minimum 10 years now. I worked in different fields of this big umbrella. I worked on implementation, I worked on learning, on developing, and lots of other topics on this. And from all this, my experience, I noticed that it seems that we are missing something in our approach towards a sustainable economy. And what I noticed is that we miss the part of systems. We miss the understanding of how systems behave, how system works, how system change, how they are organized, and what they are their properties, and so on. And I'm glad to have the chance to put this on the table and to share it with you and to discuss it with you. So my presentation will be about system and system thinking, and how this will enable us to advance faster, or to really achieve the goal of circular economy. Let me start sharing my screen. Okay. I will introduce you very directly to the concept of systems, and I will give you the first example of a system, which is my presentation. So you can see, or you can have your first view of the system of a presentation. I don't know if you um, saw a presentation in this way until now, because it's not common to have it like this. But what my point is that we need to see with different eyes. So let's start with to see this presentation with different eyes in order to understand how system works and how they change. What you can see here, it's a structure of topics. I'm not just presenting some not connected topics, but I want to start from a point in which we discuss the challenge of circular economy, and then move through the system by addressing different points and different elements. And we will discuss about what does it mean that the system is changing, what is a system, how does the system work. Also, we will discuss about what is system thinking, and in the end, we will try to respond to this question, to this central question of how systems change. With this information and knowledge, we will then go back to our first part, the challenge of circular economy, and try to see how this new approach, how this new way of seeing things can help us to overcome this the challenge, and help us to really advance towards a circular economy. The first thing that is to be said about system is that they consist of elements. What you see here are the elements which are represented by topics, but also every system has properties, objectives, and purpose. The property of my presentation is to convey information. This is its main attribute. Its main attribute to convey this information to you on different under different let's say levels and way of presenting. The objective of my system is to provide you useful insights into system thinking, and my purpose is to provoke you to think and to have new ideas about how we can move towards a circular economy. Our main challenge is to move from a system to another. So basically, and put it very directly, we have to change the current system, which is based on intensive exploitation of natural resources, which generates continuous environmental degradation through pollution of air, land, and water. And its impact on environment are causing what we are all now seeing and experiencing, like effects like global warming, ocean acidification, eutrophication, extinction of species, desertification, and so on and so on. So the challenge is to change the system into a different one, which is the circular economical system, which is based on intensive reusage of material. It generates continuous recirculation and reutilization of the materials inside the techno-economical system, and reduce the impact on the environment through separation of flows. The current model, or the current economic model of which is at the heart of our current economic system, the current economic model of resource utilization, it's linear. which means that maybe you heard this phrase before, or you read it somewhere. It is expressed in that we take, we make, we use, and we throw away. This is a very linear relationship between resources and all the other elements in the system. What circular economy propose is a different way or a different economic model of resource utilization, which is a model which is circular. It means that it circulates the resources inside the system until every ounce of value of those resources is used with purpose. Basically, what we are experiencing now is a transition towards this complete circular system, a transition in which now we started to recycle and to reuse some of our recycled materials. So now we can say that we are in the beginning of the phase one, in which some of our materials are being recycled and put it back into the economic flows and produce new products or new services. But this is just the beginning, and this transformation, it's not advancing or moving as fast as is necessary. That's why we have this big challenge in front of us to change the system as fast as possible. My presentation will address the question how we will change the system, and Marianne, which is my colleague, which will follow after me, will focus on what are the workings of this new system that we are proposing. Before we start to discuss about how to change, we need to understand what change means. Basically, change means a different behavior, a new behavior. And in order to understand the behavior of a system, we need to discuss the system theory. We need to address the questions of what is a system, how does a system work, what are the laws of a system, and which are the leverage points to change a system. In order to do this, we will use and start to discuss about system thinking. How is it different from our, let's say, current linear or mechanical thinking? How this systemic thinking resolves problem differently in comparison with mechanical thinking. This is my main goals, is to provide you with these insights about systems and system thinking. You probably heard a lot of time the phrase that the system is more than the sum of its parts. I don't know if we really understand this phrase, but I will try to explain what it means. A system is basically a set of interrelated elements. It consists of at least two elements and the relation that holds between these elements. Each of these elements is connected to every element directly or indirectly. And none of these elements has an independent part of the system. Now, in order to grasp this, in order to understand this concept, please think, let's take an example as let's think of a car, which is a very good example of a system. A car is formed from different elements which are connected together in order to produce and to provide a property which is called movement. This is the main property of the car. It's to move you from point A to point B. This property cannot be achieved by any of the elements in the car, any individual elements of the car. A motor cannot move you without the wheels, the chairs, and the steering wheels, and so on. not the chairs will not move you if they are not connected to a chassis or to a motor and to the wheels. So this is a very good way to see system, because everybody knows what the car is, and everybody can relate to this and can understand a system from this perspective. Now, what all this means for us? Now, it means that the system is a whole that cannot be divided into independent parts. I can have my car as a system, as a whole, but if I disassemble it and put all the parts in my garage and just look at them, that there is no car. It's just a pile of parts. So this is the main difference. The main difference between some of the parts and the whole. Now, the consequences of this is that the properties of a system derives from how the parts interact, not how the parts act separately. This needs a lot of reflection, because then if we take this idea and move it to use it to understand our companies, we will see that our companies right now are exactly formed like this, and they cannot function if we take some parts out of them. They cannot function if we take the accounting department. They cannot function if we take out the logistic department, and so on. They cannot do their properties. They cannot achieve their goals. So that's why a system is the more than the sum of its parts, because actually it's not the sum of its parts. It's a result of the interaction of the parts. The implication of this are very important for management and for how we see and how we create and how we develop systems. The implication is that the system is improved or changed only by changing how parts interact, not by changing individual parts, not by improving individual parts, but improving or changing how these parts interact. The quality of these interactions determines the performance of the system. Please think again of a car. If your motor is not functioning well, it will affect your car, but it will not stop the car to move, but it will affect it. It will probably consume more fuel. It will not reach transport you in a set or a desired time to the destination. It will affect the car. It's not changing the car, it affects the car. Also, a system, it's a complex structure of relationship between various but not similar elements. So a system should not be constructed, or it's not constructed from similar elements. You can think, in order to understand that, you can think on our society. Our society, it's formed from of structural physical elements like buildings, like roads, like cars, like institutions, and so on, but also consists of humans, which are biological systems. So they are not similar elements, but they are acting interconnected. So a system consists of stocks, which is the material or the data which flows through the system. It has parts, it has elements and all kinds of parts. It has internal relationship between these parts, which we call them loops. It has borders, and also it has external relations. Loops are of two kinds. They are consolidating loops, which leads or contribute to the increase of the stock in the system. And there are balancing loops, which maintain the system in a certain parameters. Let's take a very easy to understand example. I think everybody knows the system of saving money in a bank. Probably everybody or all of us did this. And we know something about this system. This system is formed, or it has as elements, the bank, you, the physical infrastructure of the bank, the informatics system of the bank, which allows the control of the money, or allows the data to be available for everybody. So there are different kind of elements. There is a relationship between all these elements. You take the decision to go directly to the bank and transfer the money to the bank, or to give it to the bank directly. And this is a relationship between you and the bank. Also, this system has loops. The most important loop in the system is the interest. The interest generates an increase of the flow or the stock of money in the system. The bank, it gives you an interest, and every month your account or your money are increased by that interest rate. If this is allowed to continue forever, it will increase forever. The stock will just increase forever. But in order to prevent this, there are also balancing loops. When the bank sets the interest rate at a certain level, this is a balancing loop. It sets and it establishes the parameters of how that system works. Basically, it sets how much profit they make and how much do you save, or how much do you earn if you go with this option. So this is a very easy example of a system which has elements, but also has consolidating loops and balancing loops. How this system works. Now, we cannot understand how system works in isolation. We have to see them in relationship with their environment, with their exteriors. And from this perspective, we can see that there are three main types of system. There are systems that state maintaining system. Their primary function is to maintain their own state. And you can think on a system which, for example, regulates the temperature in your room. The only property of that system is to maintain itself in a condition set it by you. For example, you said 20 degrees that you want in the room, that the system will do this even if the external condition or the internal condition are changing. More complex systems are goal-seeking systems. They are systems based on goals. They are seeking permanently to achieve some goals which are imposed or which are set in the beginning or when the system was created. In this category, we have all our companies. Most of our companies are goal-seeking systems. They respond to changes, they adapt to changes, but only to achieve their goals. Now, the most complex or the most new and innovative systems are purposeful systems. These are systems that have intention, not just goals, they're not just reactive, they are not just responsive, but they have intention. It means that they change their goals based on the internal and external environment. They select their ends, their means, and exercise will in order to produce the desired outcome. The first two categories of the system are the result of a mechanical system, of a mechanical way of thinking, which is based on a linear relationship of cause and effect. So basically, in our companies, we say, well, we want to get this effect, or we want to achieve this level of revenues, this level of profit, these levels of production, and so on, and we will adapt the system in order to achieve that goals. But this is a linear cause and effect relationship. In purposeful system, we have multiple relationships. In purposeful system, we have a purpose which is connected with the environment, which is connected with the other systems around our system. And this is the result of a different way of thinking, which is the systemic thinking, on which I will go shortly. Our education system is not so much concerned with how our mind works, and I think this is one of the main reasons why we developed a mechanical way of thinking. Thinking is a property of the mind. It is the result of the interaction between the contents of the mind, or the content of the mind. And the content of the mind are data, information, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Let's discuss a little bit about this. If you think on data, they are just pieces of or symbols which express properties. If I ask you how many children do you have, you will give me a data. You will give me a data which is just a data. But if I want to move forward and to find out more, or to understand more, or to move forward on this, I will move to the next level of the content, which is information. Just think of the data as ore iron, or iron ore. They are raw pieces of symbols. If we prelucrate them, or if we use them, work with them, they will transform into iron. So information, it's iron. It responds usually on the questions of what. I can ask you the questions, for example, also related to, let's go back to a little bit to our webinar, and then try to see how this data, information, knowledge, and understanding relates to what we are doing now. I can ask you, for example, where are you from? And then you will give me some information about this, where are you, your origin. I can ask you also a question, how did you get here? And then you will give me an explanation. Well, I got here because I heard about this webinar, and I was invited, and I registered, and then I entered, and I downloaded Zoom, and so on and so forth. And this is knowledge, because this is already prelucrated information, and it tells you, it gives you some kind of explicit instruction, or explicit understanding of how did you get here. Now, also I can ask you, why are you here? Now, probably your responses is that you want to learn more, you want to find more about this, and this means and this will give me an understanding of your motive. But these are the first on the basic contents of the mind. Wisdom, it's something different. Wisdom is a qualitative transformation from the previous four elements. So it's a qualitative transformation of the data that we are working with. And wisdom is reflects or address the consequences of behavior, or the consequences of how we use information. Mechanical thinking usually starts from a part to the whole. So for example, if I want to build a company which produces a certain kind of product, I will start with the production line and say, well, the production line should be like this, and this, and I will have to have this warehouse, and so on and so forth, in order to deliver that product. But this is a very, very linear cause and effect relationship between all these elements. But for example, if you go to an architect and ask him how he is building a home, he will tell you that he starts from the whole. So he starts from designing the whole house and then fits the room in order that those rooms fit the whole, not vice versa. So he will design the shape, the orientation of the home, and so on and so forth. And then he will start to add rooms, and he will start to fit the rooms in the home. So this is difference between the mechanical thinking and systemic thinking. Mechanical thinking starts from the part, and the systemic thinking starts from the whole. They differ in how they approach problem and how they resolve problem. The mechanical thinking tends to resolve problems in way that problems are saw as obstacles in our road to, or in our journey to achieve our goals. So we have to resolve them. But the system thinking has the property of dissolving problems by eliminating the system that produces those problems. So this is one of the major differences between system thinking and mechanical thinking, and how they two resolve problems. Basically, the transition from mechanical thinking to system thinking is a transition from efficiency to effectiveness. And this is very well put it by Peter Drucker in his statement: management is doing things right, leadership is doing the right things. So if we pursue our mechanical thinking, we can increase our efficiency indefinitely. We can reach to extreme level of efficiency, but without concern about the effects or the consequences of our action. Now, wisdom or system thinking, it's concentrated and concerned with the effects, and evaluates the effects, the results that we are pursuing. And again, this is very different from how we tend to solve problems, or how to see systems in our real life. There are some facts about systems that I want you to know. Every system has intrinsic properties, the basic 3 intrinsic properties that you will find in every system: resilience, self-organizing, and hierarchy. Resilience means that the system will always tend to maintain its state, or its initial state, even if it's pushed, stretched, or whatever. So every system is resilient. It will tend to maintain its current state in a most easy way. Every system is self-organizing. It means that has the ability to learn, to diversify, to evolve, and this represents the capacity to increase in the internal complexity. Now, our companies are doing this all the time. That they are increasing complexity in order to manage the problems or the objectives that they have. Systems also have hierarchies. This means that they produce hierarchies in order to reduce complexity. This means that they reduce the amount of data that each part of the system is processing, just in order to continue and to keep its structural function. These are facts. These are not things to discuss. Based on these 3 intrinsic properties, Peter Senge formulated 11 laws of the system. I will not go through these laws of the system. Just I will mention that the first one, which is the day problems come from yesterday's solutions, but which is, if you really look at our current economic system, or how our businesses evolve, it's really true. We still have a lot of problems. We resolve them, but they are keep appearing. They are not disappearing, and we, in different ways, we are confronted with the same problems. Now, considering all of this, we should ask ourselves, what do we need to do in order to change systems? There are 12 buttons that we can push. And there are 12 leverage points in each system that we can push or we can use in order to provoke a change. What you see here and the way how they are organized and the colors represent the power of these buttons. So the most powerful buttons are the blue ones, the blue intense ones. For example, objectives, if we set a different objective for a system, then the system will react. If we change its paradigm, the system will react and it will emulate those paradigms. If we change the balancing loops or the delays in the system, the system will react and will change. But there are different powers. Some of them can produce a real change. Some of them can produce just a slight modification of the system. What I want you to take from here is that there are ways to change systems. A system is never changed by you. A system changes by itself if you know how to push the right buttons at the right times, and just use these power buttons in order to provoke change, not to change something. Now, what all this means for our circular economy model or challenge that we face. At macroeconomic level, we have to rethink the relationship between parts. So the relationship between companies, consumers, investors, regulators, and all the actors which are involved in the economic system. At company level, we need to design new business model that contribute to the new purpose. And then we have to design new company systems that are adequate to the new business model. It implies that we have to have a real collaboration and dialogue between companies and other parts of the system in order to do this. We cannot do this alone. We cannot design business models in isolation. We have to consider all the other parts and all the other elements in our economic system. At product level, we need to design products that at the end of their useful life don't become useless waste, but they continue to provide value and they can return to the manufacturing system or to the natural system if they are natural products. In short, what all this means is that we have to move our the way how we see things from a company-centered view to a system-centered view, and to move the way how we see profit or gain from the profit of the part to the profit of the whole. This is all from my part. I tried to not go as fast as probably I did, but there are complex ideas and complex issues to discuss. Not so easy to explain, especially in English. But now let's go back to our initial challenge, and just look on this challenge with some new eyes, on seeing not how we can produce or make change, but how we can influence change, or how we can push different buttons to produce this change in a desired way. Thank you.
Thank you, Adri. Well, it actually intrigues me in a couple of ways, the presentation of yours. I would like to give the floor to the audience if you maybe have some questions, that something was new or unclear enough, or you would like to raise a discussion, that will be great. Feel free now to unmute yourself if you can. I think you can. Yes, you do. Or post a question in a chat box. Until then, if there is no burning questions from your side, wanting to voice it, I will just reflect quickly on Andrei's presentation, and Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, yes.
Yes,
Good.
we can.
Good, thanks. Well, so what I realized, well, these are three basic characteristics of systems where it is resilient, it is self-organizing, and it has a hierarchy. And it's really nice to pair it with these, what was that, 16 or 16 levers of change?
12 levers of
12 levers.
yeah. I cannot hear you. Milan, I cannot hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
So basically not only technical economy part, but the circular society, we should tackle pretty much all the levers below the paradigm shift. Am I correct? And then we could expect the resilience of the current system. We could accept they will bounce back. So it will not just accept the circular economy as the perfect tool for continuation of living. We will also expect the self-organizing of the system, which basically aligns with your conclusion that you say we need to push the system, we cannot control it. So it will reorganize itself, however we want to influence it. And then the only thing that I would also like to maybe more deepen the discussion is the hierarchy. So how do you see this paradigm shift through these three lenses: resilience, self-organizing, hierarchy, if we're talking about circular economy?
These are these are aspects that we cannot change. So as you said, we'll expect that the system will push back through resilience. We can expect that it will self-organize and produce hierarchies. So these are facts. We cannot change them, but we can use them. Knowing that the system will push back will give us a different ideas on how we can press it, or where we can press it, knowing that it will self-organize to adapt or to maintain its current state. We can have an idea of what kind of information or what kind of events we need to produce inside or outside the system in order to generate the self-organizing that we want. So these are facts, but they can be modeled. We can model resilience, we can model self-organization, we can also model hierarchies, only if we consider them. So we need our actions needs to consider these aspects. Usually we don't consider, we just push it ahead. We just want to do what we want to do, and then the system push back, and what we get is not what we want actually. So because we don't consider these elements. So this is how I see the approach. We should consider them. We should know that they are there, and we should adapt our actions and our approaches to accommodate these properties.
Thanks. When we were mentioning hierarchies, the way that I see hierarchies are like nano, micro, meso, and macro level. Macro level is something that you've mentioned as well. Would you agree on this classification or categorization, or would you add something more to it?
There are lots of categorization when we talk about hierarchies, but what I think is the most important category is the hierarchy of objectives. Usually a company has a hierarchy of objectives. It starts with a big objective of overall objective, which is, let's say, to increase its profit by 5% next year. And this is the objective which will determine all the other objectives of all the other parts. So this is the objective which is in the top of the hierarchy. And we need to understand this, that there are hierarchies of objectives which determine the structure and determines the way how the system works. in the hierarchy, in the top of the objectives, we don't include the objectives of circular economy, then there is no chance that the system will adapt or will change in order to accommodate these objectives. So I will use the hierarchy in this sense, in order to see that there is hierarchy of objectives in every company or in every system.
Thanks. There is one question from the audience. Dan says, great presentation, thank you. How would you push a paradigm change at national or / system level?
First of all, we have to understand what is a paradigm. A paradigm, it's a way of how we see the world. It consists of our values, our principles, our culture, everything that let's say, it could be like a big a picture which has a lot of things in it, values, culture, and so on and so forth. This picture is not changing in 1 year or 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
This is again a thing that we have to understand. This picture or this paradigm will change over time. There are elements in the system which will not change. There will be always people which will believe in the same values, or they have the same beliefs, and so on and so forth. They will not change. They are resilient, let's put it like this. Or maybe they don't want to change, or they can't change because they don't have the necessary background information or education. So paradigm shift happens when we change the way how we educate our peoples, or the way how we educate our children, or the way how we see the world. So in order to push a paradigm shift, we need to look on our education system and to expect 10, 15 years
Mm-hmm.
delay on how this will change.
Thanks. Well, I would just conclude almost well for this part, and then transfer to what circular economy actually means in all this milieu, with a short, let's call it a short or small conclusion, where what we've discussed now is that, and what Andre also mentioned, the purpose of the product and the purpose of everything that we do needs to change in order to commit to this paradigm shift. And it is not a shift from today to tomorrow. It's something that we will have to consider for the years to come. That's why the circular economy is understood also as a transition, and we need a transition period towards it. It will not be solved in 2 or 3 policies changes, and it will not be solved if we put a wrong prioritization of goals. So if we prioritize only, for instance, recycling, we will not have the full circularity of the system, because we're tackling only one part of it. I would just leave it at this. We have one nice comment here, and a nice also observation, where Angelina says that circularization reminds her of digitalization in one way. If you try to digitalize inefficient processes, the results are disappointing. Digitalization works only if there is system and process redesign. So that's, I would say that's why we're talking about system redesign. We have to think about the system as a whole in order to influence a good circular economy implementation. And that's true. If we just push it for something just on purpose to put it on paper that we have circular economy, it will bounce back, because the systems usually push you back.
I like very much also this comment, because it also gives me the possibility to reinforce this process of design. Usually we resolve our problems by isolate them from the exteriors, by research, and by all kinds of analytical method, because what I think it's not existing right now, it's not existing the knowledge or the know-how of design. We don't really know how to design things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know in a way, very limited way, but we don't know what design means, how do we start a design, where do we start it, from which point it starts, and then so on and so forth. That's why the example with the architect, I think it's very best, because he starts design from the whole. He really starts it from the whole. It's the only profession which I know that it starts from the whole and then goes back to the rooms, to the kitchen, to the installations, and so on and so forth. But it starts from the whole.
Thank you very much. This could be a topic for another webinar, actually. How do we design systems?
Yes.
I would leave it at this and introduce our Dr. Marian Constantin Vasile, that will bring a little bit more of a link to what systems thinking are and what are actually circular systems. And if we would like to analyze them a little bit more, I think that Marian, well, definitely Marian will tell us what this analysis of the system will look like. So at this point, Marian, we can see your presentation, and I would give the floor to you. And yeah, let's see in 25 minutes what we can solve. Thank you. And I cannot hear you.
Thank you very much, Milan.
I cannot. Good.
Okay. So I will do another kind of introduction to circular economy. The content of my presentation is this one, whereas the agenda is looking like this. So practically I will start by a short introduction, and then I will get to the part with strategies and the paradigms. What is circular economy? It's about shifting the philosophy from the linear perspective to the circular perspective. You heard about this from my colleague Andrei. The main idea is that in this linear approach, we finally have the disposal and the pollution stage. We want to eliminate that by introducing closed loops, so that to revalorize our materials which enter the products and even the services. Circular economy is about eliminating waste, having a sort of resilience by design, and also it is about mimicking natural ecosystems. Also, it's about closing the loops and retaining the value as much as possible. Finally, I will highlight that it's also about minimizing the planetary impact while having highest level of economic and societal value. Okay, maybe you will see that there are many challenges and we are talking about complex things, but of course we have our own means already since decades to have things done in a circular way. Circular economy is an umbrella concept. You can see here many of them, many ideas. For example, we can speak about servitization, which is not offering products, but offering services, or offering some kind of product service systems. You can see here the remanufacturing, reconditioning, also emotional durability in order our products to last and to be longer used. Recycling, downcycling, composting, industrial symbiosis, and so on. There are many aspects behind these concepts, but we will get into details during next slides and possibly during next webinars. You can see here that there are many different frameworks to address waste management and resource efficiency. The thing is that all of them should be circular to the highest extent possible. And now, even if it is a little bit premature, I will address you this question in order to have a snapshot of what you think. So, which of the following concepts would be useful for your activity? I will launch this question for you now, and please respond within next 30 seconds at the most.
And how many answers can we answer on with?
As far as I know, the question is set for 3 answers.
3 answers. Okay, thanks.
Yes, thank you very much. Of course, the project will use all these answers to draw conclusions and improve our next webinars. Thank you very much. I will end the polling now, even if I see that the answers are still coming. Maybe
wait a bit more.
I will wait a little bit more because it's a complex question, and also I didn't explain all the features behind. Okay, they are still coming, which is good. Milan, you are the moderator. Please tell me when to close the polling.
I think that the rate of answers is slowly declining, so I think it's okay to close it now. Yeah,
it's okay. It is
we have
closed.
the big picture.
Okay. I can tell you without sharing the results that most of the participants are focused on the eco-design. So practically Andrei did a good job by highlighting the importance of this eco-design phase, which of course it's critical for everything that we do. Okay, I move forward. Why is circular economy needed? Hopefully that you all have seen this Earth Overshoot Day. It is about, it represents the moment in time within a year when the resources of our Earth are exhausted, so they cannot be further regenerated by our planet. You can see here that unfortunately the resources exhausted sooner and sooner within a year, but because of COVID, we had an improvement of the situation. Here you can see the same index by countries. For example, in Romania, we exhaust all of our resources on July the 11th. Okay, I will not insist too much on this. I will only highlight the idea that we have really to decouple our economic growth from the resource consumption and generation of emissions. You could say, okay, it's not possible, but you will see that we have already the tools and concepts to do that. At the moment, our global economy is only 9% circular, so only 9% are fed back into the macro economy, unfortunately. But this could represent also an opportunity for the businesses that innovate. Circular economy is also needed because we need to apply paradigms like cradle to cradle. It means that the resources, the natural resources that we use in our manufacturing processes or servicing sector need to be considered as a nutrients which go into closed loops and finally they get back into the nature. So we have to have this balance between the two artificial and natural ecosystems. Of course, for that, in order to do that, energy, the energy that we use should be renewable, water should be clean, we should have a strong social responsibility and so on. You will see within next slides that there are a lot of benefits for our businesses. So I will highlight them further on. And now we will dive more into the strategies used to capture and use the value. Everything in our world is about value. The money are only a representation of the value. This is very important to understand. If we discuss about the perspectives regarding circular economy, you will see here that there are more. So we should deal with processes, products, business models. We should collaborate a lot. And also, of course, in order to shift the paradigms, we have to apply the tactics of the change management discipline. Maybe you saw this value hill tool. It is only one tool, but I think it is very useful. Practically, it shows that in order to have a product to be used by us, it has to go through different phases of manufacturing, from raw materials to parts and the product itself. Here you have the consumption phase. This is the timeline. Usually, if we think in terms of circular economy, this time for usage is short, really short. For example, or used inefficiently. For example, in the EU, the cars are used only 2% of their entire lifetime. And after they are used for a short period, their value drops drastically. The idea with our strategies is to make this drop gradually. So to have a slope, not to have an abrupt slope. We have to appeal to different strategies like long life loop strategies, meaning, for example, to have a better durability of the products, to recondition, refurbish, remanufacture our products. Then we could have intensifying loop strategies, meaning to better use the potential of the products with strategies like sharing, co-using, and so on. Then we refer to the closing loop strategies. Here we aim at the recycling, composting, and everything which feeds our materials back into the nature or into our artificial systems. We have the extending loop strategies. Here we could talk about substances, for example, the so-called cascading, meaning, for example, an industrial water which still has very useful components inside could be used for other purposes in other industries. And then finally, we should have preventative strategies, meaning to refuse the usage of toxic elements or to have a better usage, a more efficient usage of the materials. So Value Hill is one of the tools that we should use. Here you can see another tool, which is practically the main actor of a training of Climate Kick, who sponsors also this Circular Economy Beacons project. You can see here all the 5 strategies I was mentioning you about within previous slides. The idea is to have green raw materials fed into this manufacturing system. Of course, we could talk likewise for servicing sector. The idea is that primarily you have here the vertical stage, then you have the part stage and the product stage. So during the manufacturing processes, you have different phases for this scale here. Then you have the transport and distribution, then the usage phase, then you have to collect back all the products that were used, and then to apply some kind of treatment also aligned with this scale. The idea is to have as much closed loops as possible, but unfortunately, currently you saw that above 90% of the materials are lost in different phases. So then we have to apply different strategies like reconstitution, repairing, reinventing, and so on. You can see here an example for the video gaming sector. It is from Wiki Commons, you can find it. The idea is that you have, of course, to begin with this eco design, for example, for product durability, and to use only green materials, reconsider the distribution of the games, for example, by using the downloading tactics. Then, of course, during the consumption phase, we should be green by powering down our devices when we not use them. Then with some kind of incentives and buyback programs, we should collect all these electronic waste and recycle them and feed them back into the artificial systems or even natural systems. Same, I want still to highlight here that at industry level, all the participants should think about this closed loop. For example, the producers, transporters, consumers, and so on. Same principles apply to the packaging sector. You have here the indication that in all phases of this life cycle, you have different usage of the packages. But we should aim at renewing, reusing, and recycling all these packages because they produce a lot of waste. And for example, they go into the oceans, unfortunately. Why circular economy is attractive to businesses? As I told you, we should avoid the value loss. Then there are a lot of recirculation opportunities which bring different businesses in place. We could make our resource consumption more efficient. Also, we have better profits, stronger green partnerships, and this is because usually when you feel the same, when you have the same approaches in your businesses, you get closer to the partners that do the same. You will see here a clear within next slides, a clear new business opportunities. Then another very important aspect is that we should reduce as much as possible the externalities, the dependencies of the external resources, because this is an image very relevant, because within this period from 2000 on, prices of commodities have fluctuated a lot, and the average went up very abruptly. So it makes sense to have less dependence on the external factors. I can tell you, for example, that Renault has 70%, at least 30% independence. Of course, more attractive brands we could have by adopting such green approaches. The relations with our customers could strongly improve. Of course, we will have a satisfaction that we protect our environment, and I would say that it's a good benefit to be ahead of times, ahead of regulation, because you probably know that there are a lot of new regulation at international level in the sense of applying, implementing the circular economy. And finally, of course, we are speaking about general competitiveness, wealth, sustainability, and resilience. Now we get to the examples. I think this will be very useful and inspirational to you. For the sourcing part, we offer you a highlight of these two giants, Ford and Heinz. Practically, Ford uses ketchup byproducts in order to create plastics, and this is useful for both. Even in terms of money. Then we have for this stage the Abbey Steel example. Abbey Steel is a very smart company that buys offcuts from different manufacturers. It recycles them without remelting, and then it solds the regular shapes to different other companies. And this is a very profitable business, which has, of course, a growth potential. Another example is that Renault, in the past, owned its own cutting machines. It had to pay attention to the servicing aspects, but finally he redesigned the system by transferring the responsibility for the cutting machines and the fluids, related fluids, to a supplier. And both of them had a lot of benefits, because even the supplier was forced to innovate, and the margins, the profits increased for both companies. Here you can see different other examples from different angles. The remanufacturing of Renault, this is a well-known example. We have already predictive maintenance in the transportation sector. For Tesla, we have an approach which is dedicated to upgrading the software especially. And last, I will highlight this example where the waste coming from cartridges is used to create handles for different boxes by HP. Another relevant example, I would say, for this stage here at parts level is that the market potential for the power storages is very high at the moment, in the sense that we could use the electric car batteries for a second life. Maybe you do not know that these electric car batteries are used only up to 80%, and then they should be thrown away. But as you see here, there are good examples to use them with other purposes. And the last example is about this company, British Sugar, which initially only created sugar products. But after carefully analyzing all the wastes that it had, they, meaning the staff, acknowledged the potential to have new businesses. And they have created, by using, of course, the principles of circular economy, 11 other profitable businesses. You can see here the entire ecosystem of British Sugar. Now, we conclude this section by a new question. Please tell us which of the following benefits are most important to your activities. I will launch this poll. Please answer within 30 seconds.
Or maybe a minute.
I'm not so sure because this should be easier. But you are the moderator. Maybe I extended too much my presentation, so
it's fine. I mean, for some, it is the first time that participants are seeing these strategies, so it might be a little bit more mind troubling to get around what is here.
You're right, especially that we need conclusions for the next webinars.
Yeah, and definitely what we will do is I will definitely share these results with you after the presentations. So we'll not keep you in blank, but I think that now we're good and we can close it slowly because the rate is dropping.
Okay.
So Marianne, it's yours.
Yes, last slides from my part. This is a section regarding the paradigms. Okay, so practically I told you about our aim for decoupling the economic growth from the resource consumption and emissions generation by rethinking and reconfiguring the entire chain of value generation. Of course, we could approach different tactics like, for example, using alternate or green materials, applying the so-called lean manufacturing processes. Maybe a lot of you heard about them. We could talk in the usage phase about timeless aesthetics or emotional durability in order to keep the products in use. And I told you many things about recirculation of parts, products, and materials. Of course, behind this picture, there are a lot of concepts I will not insist on. Only I will highlight that in the logistics and energy sectors, we should also improve our recirculation. There are many shifts already which happen in our life and are relevant for circular economy. Maybe you cannot see very rapidly the potential of these shifts here. For example, fully digital documentation systems, teleworking, smartphones, but they are there. So they bring a lot of benefits for the businesses and planets. And I would say about to happen at large scale, because they already started, we have these ones, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, everything as a service, and so on. So we should be prepared because disruptive times are coming, and the only chance for us as humanity is, from my point of view, the circular economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marianne. Again, as last time, it was interesting to see a little bit more aspects of circular economy. Definitely, this is just a glimpse of what is behind circularity. One of the main points that here we have addressed more implicitly than explicitly was the life cycle thinking and the life cycle approach, where Marianne have showed the tool that we are using in trainings and also in assessing in companies what kind of flows and what kind of options, opportunities, or benefits companies could address in this kind of a life cycle thinking. And what does that mean is that we are thinking about the whole system of interrelations or interconnectedness from the moment we start procuring the first material or the first resource to the moment where we are usually forgetting about the product or service, and this is the moment when the end consumer stops using it. For some, from some other, it's even before. It's when the product leaves the shop. So and this is the usual linear economy mode of thinking, because as Andre has pointed out, we only have one thing is focus, and this is maximizing profits. And maximizing profits is basically when the old way of looking at the product, which is sell and forget. When the product leaves our shop, we forget about it. And the life cycle thinking is taking a bit broader boundaries of systems. This is something that Andre had also noted. And it is thinking about from the very conception and design to the very end potential use of resources in this product or a service. So this is my kind of a small conclusion of how to connect life cycle thinking and circular economy with systems thinking. And I would like also to have, it will be great to have some of the questions from the audience. Until then, I do have one question, and that is to both Andre and Marianne. We have mentioned systems thinking, we have mentioned circular economy. You have discussed also about hierarchies, about the other characteristics such as resilience and self-organization of systems. But how do they explicitly intertwine like systems thinking and circular economy when it comes to business and business innovation? Or to make the question more concretely, what angles should companies think about when they're thinking about circular business?
Yes, thank you
Whoever
for the
would like.
question, Milan. I would answer like that. There cannot be any circular economy without applying the life cycle approaches in order to close the loops. Also, there cannot be any circular economy without having a system thinking which aims at seeing everything as a whole, looking to the interdependencies, patterns, and so on, in order to find out right solutions to apply in the benefit of the businesses, but also in the benefit of our planet, because you saw that resources are more and more scarce. I indicated the example to you from Renault. It is more than 30% independent from the external market, because it applies together with in co-working together with its partner different strategies during the life cycle and during the value hill slopes, by of course using a systemic thinking. For example, it remanufactures since 30 years ago the motors, and everything in its cars are designed for disassembly. The recipe for each component is known. The products are designed for disassembly, and they have their own buyback program to get together with the partners all their cars, and then revalorize the products, the materials, and so on. I think this is very useful because, as we see now, we have disruptive times. Then, of course, I got the question from another colleague that we have many challenges to apply these new paradigms, but I honestly think that we can do it already by ourselves, even without limited incentives or regulations from the governments, because everything is about improving our businesses, our profit, and this should be, of course, in connected chains and closed loops. It's not so easy, but of course, some strategies in the value hill and some strategies in the life cycle with system thinking we could already apply with our suppliers and by ourselves in our businesses. We can do it, and then we will inspire others, and then we will demonstrate and also press our governments to give us more and more incentives.
Right. To summarize, the way that I see it is that we should take care of optimizing these loops in the whole supply chain and life cycle approach. We should take care of the new measurements of impact, like how does it impact our supply chain in economic terms, but also how does it impact our overall capability of procuring, and in that sense, how do we use resources, or if the resources are going to be locked in some way, in some position, or we're running out of them because because of our negligence. And the third one that you mentioned, that we need to take care of the policies enablers, but not to depend on them, right? And this is how I see.
Exactly. But of course, everything should be applied and is already applied to some points in the design phase.
Yeah.
By thinking in the life cycle, even at the usage phase. For example, products should be designed for being shared or co-used. And finally, collecting everything and feeding back into the manufacturing and the servicing sector in order to have a better usage of our resources.
Great. I would like to conclude this discussion. We have two more questions that I would like to ask. One is a little bit more trickier. We'll see. But currently, we do live in this disruptive times, and the way that I would always present circular, not always, but I do like to present it, is that taking the note from the work of now I forgot who are the authors. Shame on me. But there is a paper that says that there are over 113 definitions of circular economy currently. Most probably there are even more at this point. But I've chosen one that explains systemic approach to circular economy, even though a little bit more technical one. And I'll share my screen just for the audience to get acquainted with it. When what it says is, circular economy is an economic system that replaces the end-of-life concept. So basically what Marianne has told, there is no end-of-life of a product or service, with reducing, alternatively reusing, recycling, recovering materials in production and distribution and consumption processes. So even in procurement, in distribution of these products, it's a different business models that we are going to engage. And also the consumption process, basically the consumption pattern, is something that we need to take into account. And that comes from both Marianne's and Andrei's presentation about the culture of how do we consume and how do we take the products as they are. It operates as a micro level, products, companies, and consumers, meso level, eco-industrial parks, and macro level, city, region, nation, and beyond. This is a bit more trickier part to explain, so I'll skip it, but basically this is the multi-level perspective that is brought into the definition of circular economy. So we need to take care of the design of the product, we need to take care of the industrial systems, and at some part industrial eco-industrial parks, as well as potentially industrial symbiosis. This is the level that of meso level, and macro level we need to take care of the policies and how do we enable this kind of functioning. So it's a very intertwined, very complex topic we're embarking on, with the aim of accomplishing sustainable development, thus is simultaneously creating environmental equality, economic prosperity, and social equity on the benefit of the current and future generations. In essence, this is a translated sustainable development definition. So the purpose of circular economy is to create a durable, resilient, and sustainable society. It is enabled by novel business models and responsible consumers. And this is some of the novelties that we are taking into the business context in order to create benefits for business and in order for them to be differentiated in a new way. Okay, this is just shortly I wanted to underline the systemic definition of a circular economy. We do have a question which is about jobs. And if we do have approximation how many jobs will disappear, how many persons will need digital skills education? From Dani, I would shortly say that there are two sides of the coins. And many of the jobs that are going to be created, approximately 2 million by one first assessment, I think it was 800,000 by the second assessment, will be created. And as society gets more and more modern, the jobs are not to be seen as jobs, they are to be seen as professions. So professions are going to be changed, as well as today we don't have many professions that we have in 19th century, but we do have digitalization and digital, for instance, digital experts or programmers. So in that sense, there are net positive effects in regards to jobs. There are some, and the role of the beacons are actually to lessen the negative effect of this transition and to enable as much as possible the education of new needs for new jobs, so we can accommodate for this. So this is my short overview and just put into perspective beacons. Andre or Marianne, do you maybe have anything to add to this? The question is about jobs. Are they going to be less jobs or losing jobs or new jobs? Because we're not talking here about automatization and robotization at this point. There are many other aspects of circular economy that need to be taken care of.
I will start with a short remark. I will have a short comment, I would say. So there will be also new kind of jobs. For example, for remanufacturing of electronics.
Exactly.
This thing is already happening, and it creates new jobs. Also in the distribution or reverse logistics, because it will be a higher demand to do that. So we will have on one side the creative jobs that will be created, and also the new jobs which are needed in order to put in place the circular economy principles.
Thank you.
I totally agree. We don't close our economy by shifting to circular economy. We just change it. It can and the prospects they are that it will grow. So the economy should not suffer, but also the environment should not suffer. So we don't close it, we don't minimize it, we don't stop it. we just change it. So in this change, there is a lot of work. There are lots of things to do. There are a lot of things to learn. As Milan said, there are new professions that will appear, and jobs will not disappear because. But also, in my opinion, is that jobs will be better. So it's not just that it will disappear, but we will manage to move from mechanical work of humans in let's say not so good condition on factories, or on different kind of jobs in which we don't have to really interact with some environment which is not feasible for humans, but we can control this kind of environment from distance. Of course, in some areas there will be less human activities, but then in some other areas there will be more. So there is a balance on jobs creation and job losses, and every shift or every change implies more work, and that implies more jobs. This is how I see it. From what I saw in the field with companies, from what I managed to read and to find out until now.
I would just add to the and conclude with this to Andrei's part is that currently we are missing the whole parts of industry which is based on reusing, remanufacturing, refurbishing, repairing. So some of the old jobs will return also. And if we're accenting repairs, there is an opportunity to extend the product's lifetimes through repairs and all the other topics. And in very connected to this is we don't need to be digitally equipped to do mechanical repairs. And every cycle of the circular economy that was explained by Marianne is more labor intensive than just selling, servitizing, and recycling at the end of the life and the end of life. So it's more of a beneficial part of the story than and there are many assessments on this call. So with this, I would slowly, keeping mind of the time, I would slowly wrap up our today's story. Thank for to both presenters, to both Marianne and Andrei, for giving us thorough explanation of systems thinking. I would like to close this with one more poll, and which is, and this is very easy. For 30 seconds, we would like to know, would you be interested to find out more about the topic of systems and its application to transition to a circular economy? Great. We can stop it now because it's definitely 100% yes, almost. And while we have this poll running, let me see if we can do a couple of things in parallel, but we cannot because so 95% of you said that you would like to have it. And this is very important because we will strive to implement systemic circular economy through this circular economy beacons in our region. We would not like to emphasize only one part of life cycle or only one small improvement in product so it can be commercialized or marketed as circular, but we want to create enabling conditions for the whole systems to become circular. So that means that we will accent collaboration between companies, between supply chains, and we also want to enable cross-boundary collaboration between companies and between countries. So between companies, mainly related to the material flows and flows of resources and products, and between countries, mainly about recognizing barriers and attacking them pretty much simultaneously or in some organized way. I do have one more slide to conclude, and this is in regards to what happens next and what can we expect from from our next sessions. There are going to be more webinars. But first of all, okay, there are going to be more webinars in this year. We want to tackle 3 very important topics for circular economy. and this is energy, procurement, and water and materials. So basically, during September, we will explain more about the interplay between energy and circular economy, how, because it is more often than not forgotten topic about circular economy. It seems like a siloed topic, but it's very much connected to enabling true circular economy. In October, we are going to tackle alternative circular and green procurement systems, which is enabling market push or market pull, sorry, from the main actors, be that from the governmental side or from the company supply chain side. And in November, we will tackle highly efficient and effective circular systems based on water and materials. Or in other words, we are going to delve deeper in how waters and materials are to be interchanged or interplayed in this circular economy system. We're going to discover more strategies. We're going to discover more, more forms of operation in regards to these two topics. We're not going to end there. We're going to continue during January, or actually February and March next year. And most probably one of the topics will be left open for the audience to see what is the primary interest from your side in order to implement it and inform you more about it. A little bit skipped topic, but which is very important for us, is that other than implementation in companies, we want to tackle circular engineers in regards to architecture and building part. So we are soon going to open a call for construction engineers, architects, and facility managers in Serbia in order to tackle circular innovation urban, not arena, but area actually. This is to be expected very soon. So if you have architects or colleagues that are construction engineers and that are very interested in green building, let them know about that, and you can post me a message directly on my email account, which is bottom right, and we will be in touch on this. The third thing, very important, is the newsletter, which we are putting every month, a little bit more than every month, through which we are informing the whole audience about the regional effects, about the regional developments in circular economy. And the last but not the least information is, if you want to see the first webinar from our series, we will send you the information, we will send you the link, and it is already online. So it explained what is the state of play of circular economy in Balkans, talking about different initiatives, talking about the policies, levels of developments, and some similarities and differences between Romania, Serbia, Greek, and Bulgaria at this stage. So this was the last slide. I would again like to thank you very much. If you have any further inquiries, please let us know through this email on the bottom right. And soon enough, Adriana from our lovely Chamber of Commerce of Timisoara will leave some feedback information, or actually we will ask for some feedback information. We would really like to know what are your needs, what would you like to know more about circular economy, because the whole circular economy beacons is directed towards you. We would like to start discussion, start collaboration, because there are, as said, many years to come of transformation, and there will be a lot of things to be done. So with that spirit, I thank you very much, and maybe with some music we can end slowly this webinar. It was really nice interacting with you, speaking and discussing. Hopefully we see you in approximately 1 month with a new topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye.